Now the A stands for art. So they wouldn't look as beautiful as they would if someone wasn't paying attention to the fine details of what they wanted those homes to look like, what they wanted you to feel when you walk into them. So STEM and STEAM are so important, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. Now, where are we as a nation versus the rest of the world in science and math? Well, let's start with math. So we were the first country in the world to put humans on the moon. There are actually footprints from humans on the moon, well, shoe prints. Here we are, decades later, we're number 27 out of 35 civilized nations in math. We're below average. How many of you have math as your favorite subject? Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so now what about science? We're doing better in science. Out of those 35 civilized nations, we're 20, still below average. We as a country need to focus on being awesome in math and science. So whose favorite subject is science? Awesome. I'm a fellow STEMinist. I love science. I love STEM. All right. Who is familiar with the women in these pictures? Who's seen this movie? Hidden Figures. Who hasn't seen this movie? Guys, go out and see this movie. It is incredible. So there are all these scientists out there making leaps and bounds and doing amazing things that we've never even heard of. And so this is a story of 3 females who were scientists and built technology and did calculations and crunched numbers that allowed us to get to the moon in the 1960s. But here we are decades later, and while women represent half of the total workforce, we represent less than 1 in 3 of the science and engineering workforce. We have a long way to go. This is a t-shirt that I should have had as a kid. So I'm an engineer. I love me some math and science. I didn't want to be a princess. I wanted to be an astrophysicist. I wanted to be a rocket scientist. But look at all of these different fields of math and science where women are somewhere between 1 in 10 in the field and 1 in 4 in the field. So girls who are interested in science and math, go after it. Do amazing things. I spent the past 10 years working with companies all across America, helping them make their buildings more efficient so they have lower electric bills, driving towards technology like that. And now I'm 33 years old and I own a company. You guys could have amazing futures doing a million different things. So girls, go into STEM. Guys, go into STEM. We want you guys there. And encourage your female friends to go into STEM. Studies show that the more diverse group that you have in STEM fields, the more innovative we're going to be. So we'll only see more things. So it doesn't matter what you're interested in. Do you want to be the person responsible for the flying car? Do you want to be responsible for going to Mars? Do you want to be responsible for disconnecting our homes and our buildings from the electric grid? Yes and no, right? So everybody has their thing that they're interested in. Go out and do great things. There's so many opportunities out there. We're just scratching the surface. Who knows who this is? Shout it out, guys. Who is this? I love Albert Einstein. The cool thing about Albert Einstein is not only was he a brilliant scientist, he was a goofball, and I think that's awesome. He had a great personality. So Albert Einstein is the most recognizable scientist of our age. I don't think I could put another scientist from now or 100 years ago out there that everybody would recognize. Albert Einstein was absolutely, positively brilliant. And he had lots of incredible scientific breakthroughs. Do you guys think, by a show of hands, who thinks that it was Albert Einstein's intelligence that made him the amazing scientist who had all these amazing scientific breakthroughs that he is? Show of hands, how many people think it was his intelligence? Okay, awesome. By show of hands, who thinks they have another reason for why it was that he was making all these breakthroughs? Yes. So he created the things that we needed so that we can have all these extra scientific breakthroughs. Awesome answer. I saw you raise your hand. Imagination, love that. Absolutely. Others, yes. Work ethic, he worked hard. He was an incredibly hard worker, and he lived for science. Yeah. Shout it out. He wasn't afraid to make mistakes. That is an awesome answer. Yes. The best way that we can succeed is to be okay with failure. Yes. Shout it out. His mix of creativity. So if he had an idea that seemed impossible, he put his mind to it to make it possible. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple more. Yeah, you've got to shout it out though. You're way back there. Yep, you. Shout it out.
He wasn't afraid to ask questions that others were afraid to ask.
Love it. No such thing as a stupid question. Absolutely agree. Okay, last one. Patience. Awesome. Excellent answer. So look at all these things. He was a hard worker. He was creative. He was curious. He forged forward. It was his personality, his attitude that got him there. So in his own words, imagination is more important than knowledge. It was his creativity. It was his work ethic. It was what Einstein did that's so different from other scientists that I look at today, was he thought outside the box. He wasn't constricted by what everyone else told him. He went out and he figured out how to solve problems that no one was thinking about. So this is a STEM presentation. I'm giving you guys some math, but I'm doing the math for you so you don't have to do any math. I know it's the day out of the classroom. This right here, this chart is called a bell curve. How many of you have ever seen a bell curve or know what a bell curve is? Awesome, love this. Good job, teachers. So the bell curve essentially is a graphical way to show any characteristic of people. So you can choose, let's say, height. And there's going to be an average height. The average woman is 5'2", and then as you get further away from the average, you're going to have less and less people. So IQ is a great example. The average IQ of people in the world is 100. So at that 100, you have the most people, and as you get further and further and further away from 100 on both sides, you have fewer and fewer and fewer people in that population. So we call these things standard deviations. If you're one standard deviation away from the average, you're 15 points above or below the average IQ. 2/3 of people fall into that one standard deviation away from the average IQ. Now, Albert Einstein had an IQ of 150. So look at that chart. He's way, 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 way to the right of average, right? Well, today we have 7, so he would actually be smarter than 99.9663% of the population. That's pretty smart. I think we can all agree that, right? But there's 7.5 billion people in the world. So I did the math for you. What that means is today, there are over 250,000 people alive that are smarter than Albert Einstein. But again, it wasn't about his intelligence. It was about his drive, his creativity, his ability to think outside the box, his ability to address problems that no one else would solve. So what I think that means is that any one of you in this room could be the next Albert Einstein. You could be the next person out there creating a legacy and changing the world, and with your picture in textbooks. What? Huh? Cake? Sure. Okay, so this is a picture of some of the solar Decathlon houses of the past. And it's science and math that allow us to create these amazing homes. But here's the thing. Right now, there are buildings being built every day that aren't using this technology. And there are buildings all over the world that exist that it's really, really difficult to retrofit with this technology. So it's great that we're coming up with this. We're taking major strides, but I don't think it's my generation of scientists and engineers that are going to change the world with this technology. It's a massive undertaking, not to just unplug one building from the electric grid, but to unplug them all. And I think that is the great frontier and the great challenge of your generation. I think you guys are gonna be the ones that do this. And why do we care? Oh, wait, I have a quiz for the students. Who wants to win something? All right. I saw your hand up first. Can you name 2 types of renewable energy? Solar and wind, that is correct. So, how are your baseball skills? You're gonna win a wireless Bluetooth headset. Good job. All right, guys, so why do we care about these solar homes? Why do they matter? We have one planet. That's it, just one. Like I like to say, there is no planet B. So we need to take care of it. We're not picking up all of our civilization and moving to Mars. We're not moving to some distant galaxy. We're here to stay, and so we need to take care of our planet. We have limited resources that we're using today for energy, and so we need to take advantage of these fabulous renewable resources. The sun is going to shine down on the earth day after day after day. Let's take advantage of that energy. And, so there were these 2 guys who about 150 years ago created an electric grid. They electrified our world. So before that, keeping food cold was not easy. Making food hot, not easy. Turning on the lights, not the same thing. And what about all those devices we all carry around, our computers and our phones and our tablets and all the things that connect us to the world? None of that would be possible without Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. So these guys, they electrified the world. But we want to keep these things, right? We don't want to just disconnect to the grid and go back to having gas light and not having microwaves and wine. I need my wine fridge. That's an important thing for me. So the question is, how do we keep all that technology like you're seeing in these homes, but disconnect from the electric grid so we're not getting an electric bill at the end of the month? Someone is going to figure that out, and someone is going to have their picture in that frame with the question mark someday. And I venture to believe that it could be any one of you that goes out and changes the world and leaves a lasting legacy. So go out, get involved in STEM. Thank you guys so much for your attention, and I'd like to introduce the guys from the NTC. Thank you so much.
Oh!